Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, and I'm for once again, can't get my words out, joined for this one by Luke Peyton, as we're going to run through all of the action from the Allianz Football League Division 1, round number 4. Luke, the table has shaped up, we know who's battling for what. What did you make of this weekend's fixtures?
Yeah, another really interesting weekend, and that, I think it's there's some really interesting storylines that we're going to get into here as well. I think some surprises as well. Some teams are better than what we expected. Some teams are a lot worse than what we expected too. So yeah, look, we're going to get into it now in a second, but it's shaping up quite nicely, and I think. The other thing that's jumping out to me as well, I think we were very open All Ireland this year as well. And yeah, look, Kerry are obviously going to be the favourites this year with the defending champs as well. But it seems to be a pretty even playing field this year as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We're going to start with the game that took place in Clonus. Monaghan 14 points, Roscommon 11 points. Roscommon's streak of 3 consecutive wins in Division 1 under Davy Burke comes to an end. And remarkably, this is their first Allianz League defeat since 2021, which shows just how good they've been in the Allianz League up until this point. We do have to say, Luke, there was something in the air for me that I just kind of thought Monaghan were going to win when this game came up. The fact that they had Roscommon at home, I was looking at the other fixtures that they had: Galway away, Mayo away, Tyrone at home. I was saying, if they have any chance of staying up, they have to win this game. Roscommon have done what a lot of people thought that they couldn't do already, which was stay in Division 1. So I did think their hunger would be a little bit down, and I thought Monaghan's would be at tip-top. And especially with Jack McCarron and Conor McManus all back the previous day, I did back them to win this one, and they did. It was a pretty neck-and-neck game. Monaghan led 7-5 at halftime, but they just kept their noses in front, albeit a goal chance cleared off the line from Robbie Dolan early in the second half. That could have changed things dramatically, but Monaghan hang on for the victory.
Yeah, look, first of all, I think this was an interesting game as well. Look, for the reasons you outlined as well, Monaghan needed results. And to be honest, look, I think Monaghan were one of those sides that after the first few weeks, I think I remember when we came on here as well, was nearly ready to say that, like, I think they're in big trouble and that you were nearly potentially looking at them to be a team that could go down. Last week seemed to be a big confidence booster, I think, for them against Donegal when they won that by 8 points in the end, where that seemed to have really set them on the right track now as well. And look, they followed it up with a good win against Roscommon here again. And that, I think there is, look, it's a new manager coming in as well, that they needed this kind of change that they're playing. I think they're playing a bit better style of football as well. And like I like the makeup of their forward line. For me personally, I think Bannigan at centre half forward, he looks this year that he's elevated his game to even another level. He was always a really good player, but he just looks really good so far. And I think he's been up there as well. If you're picking a team in the league so far, he'd have to be in it. I think he's just been absolutely brilliant. Again, today, kicking scores from everywhere as well. And he just links the play so well. You've him beside him. O'Hanlon is absolutely electric beside him as well. And you're looking at the full forward line of Conor McCarthy, Jack McCarron, and potentially you could have Sean Jones there beside him. And then you've Conor McManus. I think he could be coming off the bench this year as well. And look, Gary Mohan as well, named midfield, but played a lot in the full forward line too. So they've serious forward options. And that, like, you list those couple of players in there as well, like, they should be scoring good tallies in games as well. And if they can continue to work out the defensive side of stuff as well, they've the makings of a really good side. So I do think the players are there in Monaghan. Like, they can still rely on the elderly players like the Darren Hugheses as well and the Ryan Wileys to get them a bit of steel in there too. So, like, I do think the players are up there in Monaghan, and it's good to see that after a shaky enough start to the league, they seem to have found kind of the right way to go about playing, and they seem to kind of work things out as well at the moment. So I think, look, they'll be delighted with that, how that went anyway.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that they'll be absolutely delighted with this victory, stopping, the side that probably had the most momentum out of any team in the league going into this weekend's fixtures. For Roscommon, obviously Davy Burke won't be too down in the dumps about it. They have been absolutely fantastic so far in Division 1. But how do you see their mentality now going into the last 3 games? And then to tag on to that, do you see Monaghan picking up another win and staying up now?
Yeah, look, that's the thing, is that I do think the Monaghan can grab another win there somewhere. I think
Which
another
one
win.
would you be kind of looking at? Tyrone at home, Galway and Mayo away.
Yeah, look, I think Tyrone at home will be a game they will target, especially, look, we'll get on to Tyrone in a minute. I think Tyrone are in big trouble. I think that I think beforehand they showed some decent signs in the league, but then look, we'll get on to that match. That match
Yeah.
soon enough, but I think based on that, I think Monaghan will be looking at what Mayo did to them as well, what the Mayo forward line did as well. I think Monaghan will be pretty confident with their forward line that they can do a similar thing there as well. And I think, look, Monaghan will probably fancy their chances against Galway too as well. That Galway don't seem to win games by big tallies. They seem to be in a dogfight every time. So I think Monaghan will be looking at that game as well too. I would expect them to get at least one more win there as well. And I think 6 points is the magic number. I think if you get 6 points, you're staying up. So I do think Monaghan should get another point, another win in there, and should stay up anyway as well. And from Roscommon, like, I do think that they'll be fine where they are. I think, look, the 3 wins, I think, again, should probably keep them up, but they have the tougher games to come then as well. Look, they still have Kerry, they still have Mayo to come as well. So that's the thing for them. I think it was vital that they started really, really well. They've done that. They're really competitive in every game as well. I wouldn't rule them out getting another win, but I do think that they will have tougher games to come as well. So it'll be really interesting how they front up to those the tougher challenges that are still ahead of them.
Yeah, without doubt, because even then you said, look, Mayo is going to be really difficult, Kerry is going to be really difficult, and even though Donegal is the last team out of those that they haven't played, Donegal will be fighting for their life. So yeah. Donegal will not make it an easy game by any stretch.
That game as well. I think the Donegal going into that Roscommon game are probably going to be going in needing a win to avoid relegation. So yeah, I think look, that's a big one for them at the moment. Then as well as that game at the end could be vital. But I do think that the way things are looking at the moment, that I think that 6 points might just be enough to keep teams up.
Moving then to the next game, which obviously was Mayo 4-10, Tyrone 12 points. This one happened at McHale Park in Castlebar. Now, we obviously did pick Mayo to win this one. I thought, though, it would be a lot closer than it turned out to be. Look, Tyrone played pretty well against Galway. They hit the last 4 points of the game, just left themselves a little bit too much to do. And then the game before, they put up a great performance against Donegal. But this one, they weren't at the races at all, and Mayo putting 4 goals past them. Another hugely impressive performance under Kevin McStay.
This was a really, really interesting one because look, to be honest, I think like you said, that I thought there was signs of improvement the last 2 weeks for Tyrone, but this was again, I would be quite alarmed with some of the goals they conceded, where they just looked all over the place in certain ones as well. And then the Dermot O'Connor goal at the end looked like they just down tools a little bit. That it was, I've never seen a Tyrone side, barring kind of when they famously went down to Killarney and shipped 5 goals, but I've never seen a Tyrone side be so open and so porous at the back as well, and just not putting a tackle in as well. They when they won the All Ireland with this management team, they were in your face, and as well everything was contested, and it's just not there right now. And it's hard to speculate on as to what's really going on, but it just doesn't really seem right as well. Yeah, Mayo were fantastic, and that some of the moves as well, for the James Carr goal as well, were really, really good. And Dermot O'Connor, yeah, he took it really, really well. But Tyrone, it's just the defending, it's just amateur sort of stuff. And for a team that won an All Ireland based off a teak tough defensive system that was giving up no scores whatsoever, for the same players to be giving up these scores now, and that for teams to be able to walk through them, you don't lose that ability to stay in a structure and to be defensively resolute as well. So it's really, really difficult to put a finger on how this can even happen, really, I suppose. So
that's a great point, Lucas. That it is the same back six. It's the same guys. It's everyone talks about the players that have left the Tyrone panel, like the Tiernan McCanns, like the Ronan O'Neills, but it's the same defense. It's Ronan McNamee still. I know he's not been there for a good few of the league games, but it's still Michael McKernan, Paddy Hampsey, Frank Burns, Conor Myler, players that were key to the defense of Tyrone that won the All Ireland. It's this same defense that are conceding 4 goals now.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the narrative afterwards that people are saying that Peter Hart can't be a centre half back, but he was centre half back when they won the All Ireland. So that's the bit that I don't fully understand, is that how can people say that he's not good enough to play centre half back when he's shown previously before that he can play centre half back in a team that wins in All Ireland. So, like, I think there must be some sort of I don't know whether it's a tactical thing that's not fully clicking at the moment, or whether the players just aren't they just don't have the same level of motivation as what they did previously before. But it doesn't look perfectly right. And that, yeah, look, we're probably dwelling on Tyrone a lot here as well. And that some of Mayo's attacking football was really, really good, and that some of their movement looks really, really promising. But then at the same time, like, it's just really puzzling to me as to why Tyrone just looks so open, and like some of the goals they conceded was just real amateur sort of stuff as well. Like, I know the James Carr one was excellent as well, but like I think that was Hampsey that was he was just absolutely bullied by Carr, and like we haven't seen that previously in years, and they just don't fully look right at the moment. And yeah, they look a team that are in a bit of trouble at the moment as well. Yeah, like maybe they might bounce back like they have done the last two previous weeks, but they just don't really look right, fully right now.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. On a positive note, Mayo, they're ahead of where I thought they were on the max day. To be honest, I thought Mayo would look good in the league, and I wouldn't really know what to expect. But like, they look brilliant. They look really, really good so far. Like, defensively, they look absolutely, again, no goal conceded in this game. Held the Tyrone forward line very, very well, and going forward, they look awesome.
Like, yeah, look, I'm gonna put my hands up straight away and say there's no way I thought they'd be this good straight away. And I thought, particularly defensively, that I thought losing Keegan and Mullen was going to have a much bigger impact, and that I thought that they could really struggle, because when you look back at to what Kerry did to Mayo in the league final last year in Croke Park, when Keegan, Mullen were playing, like, sure, even O'Hara hasn't been seen so far this year as well, that I just thought that, like, with those fellas not kind of really around this year, I thought that they were going to struggle defensively, but they've done really, really well that so far. And you have to say that I think Dave McBride and fullback looks a really good find. I think he's been really excellent as well. Like, we'll talk about Hession's goal now in a second as well. He looks good defensively. He's adding that kind of fast running from the back line as well. They've looked really, really good. And then the other thing I just want to touch on as well, like that they like their full forward line has got a lot of heat in previous years, and that it's always been there, like particularly in those games against Dublin or those finals previously when Tyrone or Kerry as well, is that, yeah, they can compete in every other line of the pitch, but their full forward line won't get them the scores that they need. But look, this year I think James Carr scored a goal in every league game so far this year, and he looks absolutely electric in there as well. Ryan O'Donoghue is always good for a few scores as well. And Aidan O'Shea, look, I like, to be fair, that was probably his best performance of the year so far as well. That he is dropping out a little bit as well. You saw he played that pass into Carr that was absolutely like on the money as well. So they just seem to be clicking right now as well. And yeah, like, I think they're a lot better than what I expected straight away. And that, I think those players have an awful lot of respect for, particularly Rochford, kind of coming in, taking over the training as well. McStay seems to be doing really well, dealing with the squad as a whole and dealing with the public. But I think Rochford's doing an absolute Trojan amount of work behind the scenes with them as well. And those players seem to really, really value what he does with them.
Yeah, I mean, Rochford had created, in my opinion, the best Mayo team I've seen. That they won in 2017. That's the best Mayo team I've seen. That's the All Ireland they really should have won against Dublin. But moving then on to the next game, Donegal 1-9, Galway 1-9. This one happened in Letterkenny. Donegal snatching a last-minute equaliser, and then of course Galway had a chance to win the game, but Paul Conroy's shot went wide of the target. Donegal's equaliser came from Jason McGee. Now, Donegal have claimed a point. They have avoided defeat in a game where I did think that they would be beaten. But for the reason that I thought that they would be beaten has not changed. The lack of scoring threat again there for Donegal. Again, only 9 points scored. When they played Kerry, they only got 13 points, even though they won that game. Against Tyrone, they only got 8 points. Like, it's a consistent thing with Donegal that they're not putting up big scores at all. I know it's the league, but still, they don't look threatening going forward.
Yeah, and the immediate one that when from watching this as well was that I had to check back the score at half time, because I remember thinking at about 60 minutes saying Donegal haven't scored here in a long time, and look, they hadn't scored since half time, and I think it was 30 minutes into the second half before they got their first score that they went in 1-6 to 1-3 up at half time, and they allowed Galway to kick 5 consecutive scores, and like that was probably the reason why they don't win that game as well, is that you just can't go like in Division 1 football 30 minutes without scoring and expect to win. So that is the issue for them as well. They did show signs of improvement here as well, and that I think Oisin Gallen coming back in is a big plus for him as well. I thought he actually looked pretty good, and that he showed signs of being able to fill in the gap for Paddy McBrearty as well, because that's not a huge loss, and they needed kind of someone to step up and be a talisman for them. So Gallen stepping up a bit did help, and look, but even despite kind of that gap in scoring as well, we did get a very exciting last 5 minutes as well, is that they managed to kick 3 scores in the last 5 minutes. Both teams managed to kick a few scores then at the end, and then we had the drama with the Paul Conroy free at the end. So it was an exciting enough end in like what looked to be pretty challenging conditions up there in Letterkenny too. It looked very, very breezy up there as well. So I think both sides will be I think both sides will be happy enough with a draw there as well, considering how it went. But look, it was definitely an arm wrestle anyway, and so I think the conditions and everything didn't probably lend to great attacking football. But no, we saw some good moments as well. And just to briefly touch on, it was the penalty incident is probably one of the most bizarre sequences of play I've seen in a Gaelic match in a long time.
Again, a high ball from Galway. A high ball troubling Galway again.
Yeah, and look, and that's the thing is, like Gleeson didn't look in any way comfortable with that at all, and like he hasn't really been tested so far in the league yet this year with a high ball. Having watched Galway so far, he hasn't really had long balls rained in on top of him as much as what I was expecting, and that I was somewhat surprised to see that Galway kept the faith with Gleeson a little bit kind of this year, and they haven't looked at alternatives. That look, poor Joyce has nailed his colours to the mast and said that Gleeson is his number one. So the fact that this has kind of happened again is probably a little bit worrying from Galway. That look, I don't think it's a thing that can be coached into him as well. I just don't think he has that ability to be an early dominant kind of goalkeeper. And I think it will continue to haunt them, I think, a little bit. And when it comes to championship, I think Mayo now with Aidan O'Shea in the full forward line, I think when we come to championship in general, I think they'll be more than willing to take a few chances and put in those crossfield balls in on top of them as well. Because, and to be honest, look, if Aidan O'Shea's raining down on top of him as well, I wouldn't have any real faith in Gleeson to be able to be comfortable under those high balls as well. So that's a real worry, I think, for Galway going forward as well. But just briefly,
the other thing is though, Luke, like it's not like Joyce doesn't have options. Like Conor Flaherty is a fantastic goalkeeper, and I thought up until his injury last year, I thought he was going to be Galway's number one. You look at Oran Burke, another goalkeeper who was fantastic with the under-20s. No sign of him. Like he's really nailed his colours to the mast with Gleeson. And like I know that maybe, the kick out plan and everything, and Gleeson does possess a boomer of a kick out, and he has an ability to kick frees as well. But when you contrast it to, there's a real blueprint there of how to get at him. And it's not complicated. You just put the ball up in the air and you have a big full forward. You don't even need a big full forward there. Like those last few minutes against Armagh were crazy dodgy. And seeing this one just tells me that they haven't sorted it out.
Yeah, look, and this one in particular today wasn't even, I wouldn't even say it was the most challenging high ball in as well, that it looked to be at head height, that he could have came out and put his two hands onto it and caught it. So instead, like it was a punch that essentially just went up in the air, nearly backspinned back into his own goal, and forced, I think it was John Daly on the line, had to go and try and scramble to keep it out as well. And don't ask me what the penalty was for, but why it wasn't just a goal, but I really don't understand what happened there to lead to that. But I think the overall panic that it causes as well, and I don't think that the Galway defence have huge faith in in high balls going into their own square being dealt with too. I think you can see that as well, is that they don't naturally have the biggest full back line as well. They don't really have a commanding full back in there too that's going to go in and say, I'll take care of this as well. So I don't think they have that ability right now, that they have a player that will comfortably deal with it too. So that's a huge worry, I think, facing them. And teams mightn't be capitalising it in the league as much as what they could be now. But like, there's no doubt about it when it comes to championship, that look, they're going to be absolutely targeting that.
No, without doubt. I think the main thing when I look at it is, I'd say, like, another one that Joyce, another man that Joyce wasn't really interested in was Sean Andy O'Callagh. Now, I know there were, some types of players that could get at him, pacey players, quick players, but he was a big fullback, very aerially dominant, very commanding, and a real leader there at the back under Kevin Walsh when Galway were, locked at the back and you could not get through their defence for goals. Sean Andy O'Callagh was a huge player in that Galway defence, and Pádraig Joyce came in and just wasn't even the slightest bit interested in him in their fullback. When you look now, if Galway are forced to deal with Aidan O'Shea going in there to full forward, who are they going to put on him? Like, it's an interesting one. Who would you say they're putting him?
Well, I think Galway need Mulcairn back. I think that
Mulcairn's a fantastic player, but as far as I know, he's still dealing with his injuries.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that he's there's been talk that he might be back for championship. I think if they want to go on a run where they want to compete for an All Ireland this year, I think they need him in the fullback spot, and that if they can do that, I think that frees up Sean Kelly to go out and play further out the field as well, because like, it isn't Sean Kelly's game. Sean Kelly's game is out further out, I think, as well. And yeah, look, he's fantastic in there as well. And I think he was the player that did the best man marking job on Clifford, but I think he's got so much more to offer out the field. So if they can get Mulcairn back in, I think it's absolutely him. But if he's not back, like, it's very hard to know who they can put on him as well. Is that, look, you're not putting Jack Glynn on top of him as well. That's not his game whatsoever in there as well. Like, I don't think Owen Kelly either as well. Another kind of fella that would not with the size profile as well. So then you have to say to Sean Kelly, well, you're going to have to forget about your game going forward sometimes as well, and you're going to have to worry about Aidan O'Shea in the air. So, and even I'd argue as well there, I think Sean Kelly be better profiled for a Ryan O'Donoghue. I think that would be the player he'd rather mark there as well, rather than an Aidan O'Shea. So, it's no doubt about it. It's a big worry for them.
Oh, without doubt. That's definitely something that they have to take care of. So we'll move then to the last game in Division 1. This one happened between Kerry and Armagh in Austin Stack Park in Tralee, and it saw Kerry win by 12 points to 11 in a game where Sean O'Shea and David Clifford made their first starts for Kerry in the league in 2023. And Kerry won this game, and they battled to win this game. Like, I watched it, and I actually was impressed with Armagh's performance. I did think that Armagh battled well throughout the game. They did make some mistakes, but I thought that they were right in there neck and neck with Kerry for the entire game. What was it, in your opinion, that just got Kerry over the line in this one?
Yeah, it's hard to know, really. I don't think it was definitely not a vintage Kerry performance anyway, and that they looked laboured at times, and I thought Armagh for parts looked like they were just going to about have enough. And then look, I think at the end, particularly they had just they I suppose in the big moments they took their scores. I think Tony Brosnan actually made a big impact coming on as well, that he popped up with some I think he had 2 key scores as well. It might have been a hand pass, then one at the end. And they just seemed to have that little bit better presence in front of goal as well at the end. And I think Kerry did, maybe as the game went on, they got a bit more of an arm wrestle over it as well. But I absolutely wouldn't be too blown away with Kerry right now as well. Like, I think that they're not, like, they're obviously a long way off where they were in championship football last year. I don't think Jack O'Connor would be too worried about that. They've managed to find a way to win this game as well, but I wouldn't be hugely impressed with Kerry as well. I know they're starting to come back closer to their starting 15 now at this stage, but they absolutely are a long way off where they were probably a few months ago anyway as well. But look, that I don't think that's worried them. It's a long season ahead of them. They've all a monster to gain in momentum, and again, they are trying out a few players as well. Armagh set themselves up. I think Armagh were more yeah, more defensive, I think, than what we've seen them in previous times as well, is that they very much looked like that they wanted to contain Kerry and that they weren't going to allow any space really for Clifford whatsoever. So they were dropping bodies back like very fairly heavily as well, and a lot more probably than what they had been doing previously as well. So it didn't probably lead to the most attractive game ever, I don't think. But then at the same time as well, look, it was intriguing enough and a dramatic enough finish as well in the end. But yeah, Kerry just about doing enough as well.
Yeah, and then obviously you mentioned David Clifford and Shawnee O'Shea and the lack of space that they had. Obviously, I mentioned that this was their return game. What did you make of their performance?
I think both probably quieter than usual as well, and that like I think look we'll see Clifford with more space later on the year, and he'll be doing everything that we expect him to do. So look, in his first game back, quieter as well. Sean O'Shea showed a little bit of rust too, a little bit as well, more so that he'll only be improving as well. But some new players as well come through. We've kind of finally seen that he's been talked up an awful lot. This was probably the first time I've seen O'Cumber play a full game for Kerry as well. And look, it's clear that he's like his huge size that he has as well. Moves really, really well. Nice bit of quickness to him too, and he did the simple things pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see if he can be push on. And the other one as well, Barry O'Sullivan in midfield looks a good find too, and he's actually been probably I'd say up there as maybe Kerry's most impressive player so far in the league. So I think he looks a really good find, and yeah, look, I think those two, O'Cumber and Barry O'Sullivan, I think are the interesting ones coming through there. So other than that, like I think they've some interesting parts up on the forward line as well. Interesting to see if Brosnan can maybe get in as the starting corner forward this year as well. Other options that you've got like Donald O'Sullivan, Dara Roach as well. I think there's a spot up for grabs in that full forward line to take on Gainey. So plenty of options for Jack O'Connor and a win as well, and plenty of scope for improvement. So I think they'll be happy enough to get out of there as well. From an Armagh perspective, like I think look they put it up to Kerry as well. They probably could have been a little bit braver than what they were, maybe a bit in times as well. But I think they're in an okay spot as well. Particularly thought Greg McCabe was their best player on the day. I thought he showed really, really good signs. Kicked great score as well. It's pretty strong defensively too. So yeah, look, a bit of an arm wrestle. Not the most attractive game ever, but job done for Kerry.
Yeah, no doubt, and they march on. As for Armagh, I think my thoughts that they would win the league potentially at the start, or they were a contender. I think that has washed away now. I'd be stunned if they managed to come back and make a league final and win it, because Kerry look damn good as well now. And Mayo, we touched on Mayo there earlier. They are flying. So yeah, guys, that is the full recap of all the action from the Allianz Football League Division 1 Round 4. Do be sure to check out all the other coverage of the matches which happened over the weekend here on Play on GAA. Thank you for giving us your time. And until next one, guys, take care.